my dad said, hey, actually, how much are we producing from this spot? We need to make a statement of maybe people can grow their own food, take charge of what they're putting into their body, and go back to like the victory gardens of old. So he said, hey, let's weigh everything that we harvest that comes in. And so we did, and that was in 2001. And at the end of the year, we tallied it. It was over 2,000 pounds of food. And we were shocked because we just couldn't believe that a ton of food could come from the backyard. So we were like, yeah, maybe it was just an anomaly. Maybe somebody cooked the books, something like that. So we did it the next year, and it was 3,000 pounds. We're like, oh. So then 4, then it was 5, and then 6, and then our record was 2010 of 7,000 pounds of food off this property.
On the Healthy Human Revolution podcast, Dr. Laurie Marbas interviews nutrition and lifestyle medicine experts and extraordinary guests whose informative and inspiring stories will empower you with the knowledge to transform your life and health.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Dr. Laurie Marbas, and today I'm so excited to welcome from the Urban Homestead, Anais Dervaes. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us from, it looks like sunny Pasadena.
It is, unfortunately, I have to say, scarily sunny and warm and dry. So we're very concerned about that. But it is a beautiful day, but it is a dry and warm day, which shouldn't be dry and warm. So,
which I think we may get into speaking about climate change. But first of all, for those of you who aren't aware, this is about a project that started with your dad, Jules. It's called the Urban Homestead. Can you give us just a little background before we dive deep into everything that you're doing?
Okay. Yes, sure. Might have to take a couple podcasts. But so basically, if you're not familiar with the story, but it started off after, let's go back a little bit. My grandfather and my great-great-grandfather always liked to grow things. So we always, in the family, we call the green genes. Back in Belgium, we had the Dervaes nursery. So we were always around plants. My grandfather had a beautiful yard in Florida surrounded by plants. And then my dad, in 1969, after graduating from college, he was dissatisfied with everything because there was the assassinations, the Vietnam War. So he was looking for an alternative way of life, and he immigrated to New Zealand to homestead. And that's where I was born. My dad had a homestead there in the early 70s. He had bees, he had goats, chickens, drank rainwater, had an outhouse. So that's for about 2 years he lived there. And then he came back to the States, had 10 acres in Florida, which he also farmed. We had bees, we had a massive garden, we had a goat, and things like that. So, and then in 84, he came out here to go to theology school. We brought our country fried ways with us. And then, so in 85, we purchased this house, trading our 10 acres for a 1/10 of an acre. And immediately, we planted a garden in the backyard, and then the rest is history. In 89, we did the front yard, and then, so it's been a journey ever since.
So 10 acres to a 1/10 of an acre. Can you give us the foot dimensions of what that would be?
So if an acre equals $1, we're growing on 10 cents. That's minus, I'm saying 1/10 as in terms of growing space, which actually is a 1/5 of an acre, but you have to minus the house, the driveway, the garage. So in terms of growing space, it's a 10 cents.
And then how many pounds, of produce do you produce a year?
Okay, so that's a good question. We started weighing it. So the thing was, in 2000, that scare with the corn, it got into the food system. So we had already a big garden in the back. We had edible landscaping in the front. We were already selling our produce to restaurants and caterers. But we really didn't know how much we were producing. So after the GMO scare, my dad said, hey, actually, how much are we producing from this spot? We need to make a statement of maybe people can grow their own food, take charge of what they're putting into their body, and go back to the victory gardens of old. So he said, hey, let's weigh everything that we harvest that comes in. And so we did, and that was in 2001. And at the end of the year, we tallied it. It was over 2,000 pounds of food. And we were shocked because we just couldn't believe that a ton of food could come from the backyard. So we were like, yeah, maybe it was just an anomaly. Maybe somebody cooked the books, something like that. So we did it the next year, and it was 3,000 pounds. We're like, oh. So then 4, then it was 5, and then 6, and then our record was 2010 of 7,000 pounds of food off this property. Then the drought came, and then we got busy. We started traveling with our film Homegrown Revolution, so we weren't here. I mean, we were still eating and selling our produce, but we weren't weighing as much. So that was what we got known for, was 7,000 pounds on 1/10 of an acre.
Wow. And you're vegetarian, and when I was reading, is like $2 a day is like 90% of your diet?
That was stats that was done. I actually have to update our stats. That was done about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So, but we still buy staples as like rice, flour, what else? Noodles, stuff like that. So we are buying staples. That maybe with the economy might be a little bit more than it was 10 years ago, the stats I made. So,
right.
But we're still low. I mean, we really eat simply. I mean, our meals are very, simple, porridge like in the morning with some sort of fruit, and then salad and, stir-fried vegetables in the day. If we might skip that meal, then it's salad and stir-fry for the evening.
So because you're so busy working, I'm sure. Can you tell us what kind of foods you're growing on the Urban Homestead?
So right now, if you look out in the yard, I'm looking at it right now. So it's beautiful. It's like a sea of green. We have arugulas, broccolis, kales, mustards, dandelions, radishes, onions, and then herbs. So we have dill, parsley, mints. We have some tree collards growing, and we're harvesting Jerusalem artichokes that we grew in the summer. So, wow. And what else? Oh, some citrus coming in. Let's see what else. Oh, snow peas, and so much stuff. But
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So your dad started this, and you guys grew up this way, and all three of you are still partaking.
Yes. We're still involved. It is a family. When people say, "What do you do?" It is a family farm. It technically, I mean, we might not have 100 acres in the middle of America, but it is a family run operation, and it's still a family run farm. And I feel that it is. It's just a smaller scale.
So besides growing the food, what other projects and what other services do you provide?
So we have a lot. So we have chickens and ducks for the eggs. We have bees, but we only have like one hive for pollination. We have more hives, but they're off site. So we have some friends of ours up in the hills that we put our bees in on to pollinate and to keep them away from the city. We offer programs like workshops, and in our garage space here we have open mic night. We have farm dinners. On Sunday we had a group of scouts come through here to learn to get a badge about bee. I forget what their badge was about, but they learned about honey and bees, and so they love that because we have like an observation hive. So I'm very passionate about teaching the kids, because for the last 6 years I've been teaching the school, teaching after school program with the school next door. We call it the Farm to Table program, which I've been involved in. I wrote up 15 sessions for the whole year, and they've hired me year after year to do that with the kids after school.
That is really cool. So what are you teaching the kiddos specifically about?
So it's an hour class, and so what I did was, it's very hands-on, it's very tangible when we eat something. So for instance, when we talk about, let's say I call it the chicken and the egg clash. So we bring out the hens, they sit with the hens in their lap. We talk about that. For, if you were a factory, or if you were a hen for meat or for eggs, you'd live, your entire life on a piece of paper, and, their eyes get big. And so we talk about, where our food comes from. And then we enjoy something that I've made with the eggs, either a pudding or I made an egg salad. And then, for instance, another class is making jam. If we do honey, we'll have some honey candy. So we learn stuff. I quiz them about, like if are honeybees native to America, yes or no? And then we go into how honeybees are important. And then we go into enjoying something like that's made with honey. So they get a whole encompassing educational, and then something edible. So.
Do they ever come to the farm?
Yes, they do. We have them. They walk across the street and they come to the farm. So, yeah.
And what grades are you teaching?
It's middle school. So
middle school.
Probably 5th through 7th, I think they
awesome.
are. So, and it was so popular that a couple of the kids repeated, and I'm like, well, they're the same lessons, and they're like, but we love it anyway. So they came year after year. So that was really nice.
I think it's amazing that you're teaching the kids. That really is our future.
It is special. I have parents come up to me and they just said, after your class, the kids are just like, Miss Anais did this, Miss Anais, and they're just so, and they're talk about what they learned, and it makes me feel really good that, that something went inside and they're actually excited to talk to their parents about it. And so that's I enjoy that a lot.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the three of you. I'm sorry about your daddy passed a few years back.
It was sudden. It was, nothing could have been done about it. He was there, he was talking to my sister, and then he wasn't. So it was just a sudden thing. And we're all sad about that, but life goes on. So.
Yeah. So tell me, what are each of your individual or group efforts to keep the farm going on a day-to-day basis? Like, can you tell us a little bit about each of your days or your day?
Yeah, I wear many hats. So for instance, today was farm box day, so it was getting we have how many farm boxes, Justin? 70 farm boxes today that are going out, and people are picking them up right now. So they just got put on the farm front porch, and people will be picking them up. So it's that managing the interns. So we have interns now, so that come through, sign in, we give them tasks to do. Today was finishing up making marmalade. I also cook. I get paid to cook for some people, so I make soups and cornbread and some other things for an art studio. So I go. They pay me to make like food from the garden, so which is nice. So I did that today. In between everything else, answering emails, cleaning up dishes, feeding the chickens.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, everything. So.
And so then you also have the cultivating, the harvesting, the planting.
Yes.
Is that just an ongoing process? Is there certain seasons where you're located, or can you just rotate what your crops are doing?
With us being in SoCal, we're growing 365 days a year. We're growing something. So
wow.
Yeah, so we do like successive planting. So this morning we had some of the interns, they were doing soil blocks, and they were already planting the summer crops already. So we're always high production, just getting through, and always something is growing. And we're tweaking, fine tuning the place of, because unfortunately with the drought, we lost some of our fruit trees. So this year we're like, you know what, let's try the fruit trees again. So we got some fruit trees and we planted those. And so we're always trying to, it's a challenge, because with the climate changing and just everything changing, we're always trying to tweak things. Some years are good, some years are bad. Well, not bad, just some years are just like, whatever. So, and then we planted our bare-root strawberries, 500 plants. So it's just never ending, and there's always something going on, and we're trying to get better. We're trying to, tweak things and sort of maybe add something, more rain. We're thinking about doing some hugel mounds in the front yard and some bioswales, which are capturing, like a way of capturing water and moisture to keep the soil moist. So we're looking at that. We're actually working with the city of Pasadena to maybe host some of those workshops here. So there's always something going on.
Goodness gracious. So, and then as far as, so when you're growing up, I want to know what it was like as a kid. So tell us a little bit about what maybe your friends, I don't know, were you homeschooled or did you go to public school?
I did. I was homeschooled. I came out here and I was enrolled in a private school for a year because my dad was like, well, maybe, we're not teaching her up to speed. Let's just try this school. And I was bored. So, and wanted to go back home and do my stuff. So I did get 1 year of private schooling. So we were homeschooled as a kid. So that's a good question. When people come for tours and we have school groups in here, I believe it's about telling your story, your personal story. So yes, it was a challenge. at that time, homeschooling was illegal. So for us, so for me, now it's like homeschool. My friends homeschool, everybody homeschools, there's homeschool groups, it's all. And so for me, it's like at that time in my life, it was what your parents did was illegal. So that's still like a PTSD sort of thing where you weren't smart enough, you're not good enough because homeschooling was illegal and frowned upon. It was a challenge for moving here from 10 acres to here in Pasadena because, 10 acres you can be, different. And here we had neighbors. And for me, I was a teenager, and I remember, and I tell this story, I'm not ashamed to tell it, but when my dad decided, hey, let's remove the grass and plant food in the front yard, and we mulched it, and the neighbors came over and were just like, what are you doing? I'm like, Dad, I know you can do things in the backyard, but man, can you not embarrass us in the front yard? Because people are watching us, But then he was like, you know what? No, plant wildflowers. And of course I was like, well, yes, I love wildflowers. So I planted wildflowers that became beautiful. And then everybody forgot about the brown time. So, but I was like, Dad, yeah, kind of embarrassing. I know, but the neighbors are looking at us. But yeah, so that was a challenge as a teenager. You're trying to fit in, especially with, we were eating healthy more than, our neighbors or our peers. We would go to secondhand stores to get our clothes, where the kids in the neighborhood, they got new Nikes and they kind of looked down at us and like, where'd you get your shoes? So yeah, it was a challenge as a kid to just be counterculture. But then it was, so with us being homeschooled, we were allowed to explore, to expand our minds on our own. So we went to the library, we read books after books, and I was into herbs, and I started reading the environmental books. So my very first book I remember was Diet for New America. Yes. And I was like, oh, so Dad's crazy, granola, hippy dippy.
He's onto something.
He's not so, yeah. And so then it became mine. And then I think I remember End of Nature. That was the two books that came out that time, Diet for Me and then End of Nature. And then a light bulb went in my head that, oh, okay. And so then it became my journey. So then I started trying to, and like I said, we had with being homeschooled, it was like, Dad, can we put in solar panels? Sure, go ahead. Dad, can we make biodiesel? Yeah, fine. Dad, can we do this? Can we look? And so we started, let's try to make this more sustainable. And so we were allowed to do that. And that's what made the homestead, all the elements that we came in. My sister wanted to bring in the chickens and the ducks and the goats, and brother kept bees. And so, yeah, it was through that homeschool out of the box mentality. We just, if we wanted to do something, it was like, yeah, go ahead, do it. And so that was nice about when we grew up, even though there was challenges, there was no thing that you could not do. If you want to do it, go do it, learn it and do it.
So these are mostly external challenges versus inside the home and everything. You guys were free to explore and expand your thoughts and your experiences.
Yeah. So it was anything, I like to cook. I cooked. I want to do the herbs. Yes, go ahead, do that. So we were just encouraged to do that. And so awesome. That's why the elements of the homestead, because I got interested in biodiesel. I was like, what is this? Let's make our fuel. And so what we would do is we presented at lunch, like, hey, check this out. There's a way you can make fuel out of this. And then my brother's like, oh, cool. And then he went to go find a car. And so it was like a family effort. My brother went to look for the diesel car. I contacted a lady to make the reactor. And then when we made our cob oven, I contacted the guy and said, hey, let's make a cob oven. So it was fun.
What's a cob oven?
Cob oven. We made one of those earthen ovens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to make like pizzas and bread in the outdoors.
Oh, fantastic. So now, do any of you have children, married? How does that work?
That is still a challenge. Here in LA, I think it's we haven't had children yet. I would like some, but it's just I haven't found that person. They just either think, I don't know, they just don't get this lifestyle in a sense. yeah, so I have seen people, it just never works out, unfortunately. So we'll see. We'll keep hoping for that.
Well, you're absolutely gorgeous. So I don't see
Thank
what's
you.
wrong with these people. So.
That's what my friends say, but I don't know. Either just the guys in LA are just non-committal or something. I don't know. Don't ask me. I've tried to understand. I'm like, what is like, and I think they also think that, and maybe it is, they think, oh, she wants a farmer, but I'm just cool. If you're a kind person, you're compassionate, you're a human that knows that you have faults and you have, things. It's like, hey, we're cool. Let's just try it out. But
awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll to be determined on that stuff.
Gotcha. TBD it is.
Yes, it is. So hopefully, yeah, we'll see. I am seeing somebody at this point, but we'll see. Nothing certain yet. Nothing certain yet.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Well, so there's so much that you mentioned that, I mean, and we could talk for an hour just on how to make your own fuel. I mean, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So there are things that your dad he mentioned in that on your website. There's a little bit of a history about him, and he mentions these 10 elements. So then I found the 10 elements on your website, and those are growing food, alternative energy sources, alternative fuels and transport, holistic farm animals, waste solutions, water reclamation, living simply, do it yourself, home economy, and giving back. Oh my goodness, there's like 10 hours of talk right there. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe what your favorite one is, or the ones that you really feel are the most important, or maybe they're all important? I don't know. How would you describe the 10 elements? Because those are fantastic.
Yes. I think those are all important. Growing your food, having solar panels, conserving, those are all important. I think the most important is, and what I tell people, we're not just growing food or sustainable way of life, we're growing community. The community aspect, if you've ever come to the homestead, if you ever had you've been here for a farm to table or a workshop or one of our music nights, there have been so many people who have been touched and moved by just being here. We live here on a daily basis. It's like right in our face. And we don't and sometimes you have to leave to appreciate, what we're seeing. What I see is, I have to, clean this, work that, I see all the I have to's or needs to be done. But when people from the outside come here, they say it's just like a haven for them. It's to connect over good food, somebody across the table, to just to connect and share. I think that's important. What people are losing, especially now, is that human connection. If they were on Facebook, these people would not be friends, but they are talking here at our place across the table. And so that's an important element. And then there's, organic, people are standing up, playing music, and people are singing along, and there's no division between, oh, well, you're a musician, you're not. Everybody can sing, everybody can join, and it's an inclusion, your family here. And I think that's the most important thing of how we connect home to ourselves. We center ourselves when we come home. It's a centering thing. And it's just, you find safety and shelter and connection when you come home and you ground yourself here, and we open that up to the community. And so I think that's the most important thing, I think.
So all of those elements kind of build into a sanctuary of sorts for people.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
In education, when the kids come here, this is the first time some of them have actually even seen a real life living sunflower.
Wow.
And their face is just like, and then and just connecting them to like, yeah, this is our home. This is what we do here. And it's pretty powerful. One of the little girls, I remember, she was so cute. She was, I think it was kindergarten, and after the tour she said, Miss Anais, or she kind of pulled me over, this is the most beautifulest place in the whole wide world. And I was just like, my adult brain was like, kid, you haven't been around. But I was like, yeah, but it's that adult thing, like, yeah, right. But in her eyes, this was magical, on that magical moment in time where she just was exposed to so much beauty and joy and just a whole new world was to her. So that's what I think is important. It just I wish more people could do that in their homes and just open it up to people. It's not just theirs. It's a community. It's a community effort. We can't do it alone. We need people. We need neighbors. We need our, and we're blessed that we live in the city of Pasadena. I mean, they love us. We love them. The city officials come over here. They love what we're doing. We're going to do stuff with them. So it's important to grow and nurture, not only yourself, but those around you.
Absolutely. I mean, that little girl, I mean, you never know those moments that you were able to share with her, what that'll lead to in the future. I mean, these are your future leaders of our country and your community. It's pretty, that is really cool. Kids are amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the, as far as like water reclamation and waste solutions. And so I'm curious, how do you deal with the waste or stuff at home where you are? I'm sure you're composting and all that stuff. Can you describe a little bit about what that looks like?
Sure. So we have compost piles for the kitchen waste. We have 3 compost piles. We have chickens too, which are also excellent composting systems. As for the water, we have gray water. So for instance, our tub water leaches out into a gray water system and waters subsurfacely some part of the back garden. The city of Pasadena offers a laundry to landscape rebate system. So they're actually going in and installing for free gray water systems in people's homes to take the laundry water to put out into your landscape. Of course, it has to be subsurface. There are some rules. You have to use some certain soaps. You have to have it go under because you can't have it standing above ground. It can't be touching anything like lettuces or things you eat, a lettuce leaf that you eat. It works best on trees or things like herbs like lavender and rosemary where there's nothing touching that you're going to ingest. Gotcha. So the city of Pasadena is doing that. So that's our waste thing. We recycle, we reclaim, we repurpose. So yeah, that's I think that's all our composting. Yeah, compost a lot. We have so much soil. We're just like, we joke we're growing up in the world because we're actually 2 feet higher in some spots than our neighbors in our yard.
Oh wow!
Because we have so much soil buildup.
Wow.
Composting, mulching, composting. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, and you're telling us that you like to cook. So what are some of your favorite recipes of things that you make from home?
So, I am known for my soups. So people like my soups. I make vegan soups. So I make my own veggie broth without all the extra vegetables. I cook that down. Want to know the favorite ones that everybody loves is the rustic split pea soup. I used to work at a cafe, my friend's cafe, and that was a favorite of the people that came into the cafe, and it's favorite of people here. I enjoy making salads, with different things, blood oranges, radishes, mixing, that's a thing. Salad dressings are another one of my favorite. Let's see what else. There's so much. What is my favorite thing? I do. Wow, that's a good question. I think the soups are. What is my favorite thing that that I make that you like? Food wise. Oh. What am I known for? Soup. Yeah, say soup. Soup. I guess soup. That's it. So that's my brother said soup. So
sounds like you need to start your own soup line.
Oh right, peach cobbler. Yes, I am known for my peach cobbler.
Yeah. Peach cobbler.
Yeah.
That sounds delicious. I love peach cobbler. Oh my goodness. And as far as what would you feel like have been the greatest struggles for you? So we talked a lot about everything you guys do. What do you feel is like the biggest struggle that people may not realize, or maybe it is one of the struggles we would think about?
Well, that's a good question. Of course, grief after our dad died. Actually, it was a very challenging year. Not only did our dad die, but we lost Blackberry and Fairlight, which were our 2 goats. They also passed away of old age. And then we lost a musician and his wife that would come. We would have these, let's back up a little. We would have these Sunday night hoot nannies in our backyard. So we would have local musicians come. And so starting in we lost a musician and his wife in a car crash. It's a horrible car crash. Then my dad died, and then another musician died, and then another one, and then another one. So in that 1 year, it was a challenging year for us. So with the grief of losing the animals and close friends and our dad, it was that was a rough year. And I'm just getting out of that. I don't know if it was grief, depression sort of thing. It was a challenge because it was a burden. Now, for us, we lost our dad, which is a father. We lost the business, and then the face behind the homestead sort of thing. And so we had to all fill those roles really fast. And so that was a challenge for us. And I think, people say grief never really goes away. That's still, I still see, because they were part of our family. I still see the musicians in our backyard. I still hear them because we were such a close family. And it affected not just us, it was the whole community. So I felt the grief of the whole community, involved in what we were dealing with. One of my personal challenges is just keeping everything running. It's a challenge to organize, to be like the brains, but then to clean up after yourself, organize and sort. And with a small property, it's a challenge to just have all the different elements, all the different projects. So organizing, I think I blogged about that many years ago. I said, for me as a homesteading person, organization is one of my most challenging things because I can tackle the projects. It's just, where do all my hundreds of canning jars go, and where does all this go? Where does all my yarn go, and the fabric that I save from all these people, and I'm like, so it's a challenge of organization for me.
So storage and
storage, and we want to save everything. We don't want to waste, so we're like, we'll save that piece of wood because maybe we'll use it. And my brother's like, yeah, but where are we gonna put it? Because we don't have like that. I envy people who have that property that has like a junk pit in the back, and it's like we just pile the stuff there. I was like, can't do that here. So
right,
I miss that sort of like where we can store all this stuff that we might use in one day, and we do. So sometimes we're like, yeah, I'm glad we didn't throw that away.
So how do you inventory everything? Do you have something like that, or is it just like you guys just know where everything is?
That is a good question. So to do that, one of our friends, she moved to, she was a volunteer and she was a friend. She lived 2 doors down. So she moved back to Washington. And so we started farming in her front yard and using her garage for storage. So we have like a second little place down the
gotcha.
to do she had a big garage, so we started using her garage about 3 years. Oh no, I keep saying 3. It's probably enough. More like 5 years ago. Yeah.
Oh wow, so that's helpful.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Before you'll have a homesteading block.
That's the goal. That's what people come and they're like, yeah, you should just take over. I'm like, yeah, do you know what prices of these houses go for? It's so yeah, they're like these houses. They're it's pretty pricey. So.
Wow. As far as the biodiesel, so do you guys literally make the fuel for all of your vehicles? Or?
We have one diesel car, and that if biodiesel will fuel that diesel car, yes.
Wow, that's incredible. So how does that work? Like, how do you do that?
So one of the catering companies that we sell to, they fry stuff. I don't know, French fries or whatever. So they go and then they have to, because oil is like a waste. It's like a waste. You can't just dump it in the trash. So they have to after they fry, they put them back into those big like plastic containers, and then when they're done, the used grease, they'll just bring it here, and my brother will take the used grease and make biodiesel out of it. I mean, there's a reaction process. You have to mix lye in it, and it's methanol. Then there's a separation. Glycerin goes to the top, the biodiesel goes to the bottom. That's your fuel. So biodiesel can run in any diesel car without conversion.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
because there's the SVO, which is the straight vegetable oil, but you convert your car. So we're converting the oil, not our car. if we wanted to do SVO, you'd like trick out your car a little bit to do this just straight veggie oil, and then you can run a diesel car on straight veggie oil.
Oh, that's amazing. So then what do you do with the glycerin that you said that
The
was
glycerin
part
can
of
be
that?
composted or used to like degreaser,
Oh,
because
wow.
it is used grease, so it's not like clean, but
Right.
it's glycerin, so we compost it, or sometimes if he uses like a degreaser soap
Okay.
to go and do that. Yeah.
Wow. And so have you had any neighbors actually take on your way of living and actually follow your footsteps?
Yes. So we have some neighbors, because everybody works on this block. So I noticed that they're doing more, because Pasadena is encouraging it. Pasadena encourages people to take out their lawns, and they'll pay them $2 a square foot. Yeah. So
Wow.
because of that, yeah. So a lot of our neighbors have taken out their front lawn and put in natives, or or just some rock garden and things like that. So yes, thanks to the city of Pasadena is encouraging us to be, not using, because grass is useless and it costs, there's nothing you can get from that. So the city of Pasadena has a rebate program for that.
So, and then as far as have you noticed any changes, like when you go into where you are, does it feel more humid, like a little bit of a different of a microclimate? Because I've seen things like that in
Yeah,
other documentaries.
it is. People have told us that it smells different here. It feels different here.
Hmm.
I always wanted to do like a measuring thing with like some sort of like reading, but I've never got around to that. I thought about maybe asking Caltech, because they're just down the road, like, hey,
Yeah.
send one of your students to kind of do a meter reading here. But people they said that it feels different here. The air is cleaner because of all the plants. There's something that, if you go in the inner city where the lot of cars are, you come here, there is definitely a shift in some the atmosphere and the air, definitely. So what that is, I don't know. Is an internet connection unstable?
Yeah, it looks like
Is that mine or yours?
I think we're good there. Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah, I can hear you fine.
Perfect. As far as you also mentioned, you have a documentary, something, Home Revolution?
Homegrown Revolution. So it's a short documentary. We did that in 2007. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. We did it we just slapped it together because my dad was giving so UCLA at that time had Peter Sellers, and he had Michael Pollan as a guest speaker. And he asked my dad to kind of be the what they call that, intro speaker to Michael Pollan, the main speaker. And so it was a night class, and my dad said, hey, I'm just going to talk, blah, 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 what we do. Why don't we just show what we did and put music to it and show the kids what we do here. So my sister did do that. She put it together. We showed it. The kids loved it. And then we put it on YouTube. And then a couple months later, we got a call from a lady, said, we want to show your film at our film festival up in Grass Valley that was sponsored by Patagonia. And we're like, what film? She said, the one on YouTube. We said, it's not a film. She said, oh yeah, it is. So but we said, oh, it was all, so, but we said, oh, but it's a lot of like, we took other people's, like we took the New York Times piece and we took CBS piece and kind of like mashed it into like an infomercial. And we said, we can't show that because it's like copy, that's somebody else's stuff. So she said, okay, reshoot it and then submit it. So we're like, okay. So we kind of reshot it, submit it. And that's the one that you see online. It won a lot of awards. It went around the world. It was shown on Oprah in 2009 for her Earth Day special on her show. So yeah, cool. It's we call it The Little Film That Could, and we traveled with it. We went to India because they featured it in their film festival. We went to India with it, and the people loved it. It got standing ovations. And people were crying at the end of it, coming up to us, and just were very touched by the film. And so it touched a lot of people, inspired a lot of people. So that film, yeah, it did inspire, I think, a lot of people to just grow something.
Right, absolutely. So have you ever heard of horticultural therapy?
I have heard of it, yes.
Yeah, I interviewed someone who uses plants for people who have had strokes and different things like that. He lives in New York. it's really fascinating. So I started using, I'm a family practice doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started using it with my own patients, plants, and bringing greenery into their home. It's really cool, helping with depression and anxiety. And have you noticed, like, when you leave, because you said you traveled to India, and I'm sure you go other places, that when you come home, you do feel more relaxed and more at home, or even with all of the busyness and stuff that you have going on?
Yeah, that's a good point. So yes, life, especially now, I'm busy. It is stressful, but I find that because of the beauty and the plants surrounding me, I'm able to, like, I'll be on the computer stress or with the meetings, but then you just have to walk outside and you see a beautiful flower, or you see, and so your stress level goes down. So I'm able to cope in a sense where maybe I wouldn't be able to with, I'd have to resort to something else, you know, pills or whatever. But that it's a coping mechanism of having greenery around and having beauty around. And I've had a conversation, wow, this must have been 15 years ago with a gentleman. He was young. He was probably my age or whatever. And he's like, man, you know, he didn't say it was, he said some, it was very explicit, you know, the world is done and then, you know, and I don't feel like living, you know, this, you know, he just was very, like, you know, very down. It's like, how do you get out of bed? In the morning, I can't get out of bed. And I said, you know what? I understand you, because sometimes it is heavy. It's heavy. Like, okay, you know, what is the future of the planet? It's a heaviness. Sometimes it's just what you see around you. But I said, you know what? I can't be in that state, because the chickens don't care if you're depressed. They just know that you need to feed them now. Let them out, and you need to feed them now. The plants don't care if you're depressed. You need to water them and harvest them. So that gets you out of your sort of state of, you know, centered, you know, and so that gets me out of, oh, you know, today, or man, I'm so stressed. It's you have to just kind of pop yourself out and say, oh, the chickens need to be taken care of. And so that helps you. It doesn't mask the situation, but it helps you kind of go through the day and deal with that. So
that's exactly right. So I interviewed a young woman named Summerine Oaks. She's a model in New York, and she lives in this little tiny space. And I think the last count I heard was 1,800 plants in her little tiny apartment. And she studied, I don't know if she's botany or something when she was in school, in college, and she's got all this way of watering, and it's just like moving meditation. She had a chicken in her apartment as her pet, and but she wrote a book called How to Make a Plant Love You. And people were following her on YouTube and stuff, and they were just writing just like you described. It's like, you know, the plants looking at me. That people said, like, if they're anxious or depressed, and they're like, people feel compelled to get up and take care of something, which taking care of something and seeing something flourish makes them themselves feel better.
Yes.
It's exactly what you're describing.
Totally agree. Yeah, it does help. It does help, and now I think we need it more than ever. It's you know, we need that green space in cities. We need that nurturing space in cities, that grounding where we can walk barefoot. We can smell a flower. We can see a ladybug. We can hear the clicking that of the hummingbirds. That you know, that just that moment that you might be just, oh, you know, and then you hear that hummingbird come through, and then you're taken away for that bit, and that helps, I think. I know it helps.
Absolutely. You know, my 3 kids are in their 20s. So my oldest is 20, she'll be 26 on Monday. And I started talking to her because she's in medical school as well. And I was like talking to her about, you know, using plants for her family. I'm always telling her things. She's like, whatever, Mom. But she's like, yeah, there's a lot of my friends who want to have plants and greenery in their own apartment, because when they get stressed, it's like a way of de-stressing, you know, these poor medical students. And I was like, this is so cool to see this younger generation just kind of take on all these things. And and I have hope.
Yeah, no.
These millennials, they give me hope.
Yeah, you've seen it. It works in prisons.
It does.
It changes. And especially if you know, even to the prison where they actually, I mean, if you see the flowers and you're in prison, and you go out and you garden and you see zinnias blooming and stuff. Yeah. And it's just like, I mean, that must give them so much joy and kind kind of
Peace.
calms you down a little bit. And then actually,
Yeah.
if you can grow that tomato and they eat it, and then the crop they eat. I mean, I think it's a whole wellness thing. It's you know, and they have
Absolutely.
hashtag to root. Hands in the dirt is I think they say increases
Good microbes.
your stress. So
And you got the microbes that
yeah.
you're eating, you eat fiber, there's inflammation that occurs, you know, the eating processed foods. If you eat healthy, whole foods, whole
Yeah.
organic foods, that will help decrease inflammation. And there was actually it was in California, there was a prison that actually was feeding their population a plant-based diet, and they saw a very low rate where people would go out and come back, and they had a very low violent rate, which is incredible. But of course, you know, lack of funding, and they closed, unfortunately.
That's sad.
Really interesting stuff. What is your favorite thing to do at the farm? Like things that you just enjoy so much, not stressful, but just like, I just look forward to doing that every day.
I love interacting with the people. I love cooking. I enjoy, like, I make the marmalades, even though I made marmalades so many times. I still enjoy making that marmalade and having it on a warm toast. I still enjoy that. I enjoy making the programs up for, you know, like what we're going to do, especially with the nonprofit, coming up with ideas, our programs, what it entail. I enjoy that. I enjoy developing, creating. So I guess you could say I like the creative part of where we're growing on this and stuff like that. And then personally, I mean, we're so close. We're in Pasadena. We're so close to the Arroyo Seco. If people are familiar with Pasadena, it's a beautiful, comes down from the mountains, a swath of just nature trails, just 5 minutes from our home. I just love going there, hiking. I love music, go to concerts with my friends, go hear my friends perform. I'm involved in like an incubated art studio who are trying to reclaim the city by, you know, taking warehouse space and things. I'm involved in that. Going to art night in Pasadena and seeing that, going there, going to Hollywood Bowl, seeing people. So I get out and I enjoy music. I love to see people perform live. That's one of my things, and hiking and nature. So nature and music performance, that's my thing, I guess.
Cool. And sounds like you're a teacher at heart, like your dad.
I guess they say that. Yeah, when I get in the zone, I'm I have social anxiety. But when I connect and I'm in that zone, I enjoy it.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So as for, let's say there's someone who listens to this and they're just like, because like when I found you guys, there were so many ideas. You could be overwhelmed with like all the things you could possibly do. What advice do you give to someone like that little girl who comes through, or a parent, and like, oh, my kid's so excited. What's the one thing that maybe someone can do simply, and you know, that maybe can't take on what you've done, but can bring a little bit of the, you know, the urban homestead into their own home?
Yeah, good question. So when we give the talk to the kids and stuff, I say there's one thing that you can do that doesn't cost you anything. So conserve. Doesn't cost a dime. So if each of us conserve, you don't have to go buy solar panels. You don't have to go, you know, grow your own food. We can just all conserve. That's one thing. And if you can't grow your food or some of your food, support a farmer that it does. Support those people that are doing it. That's another thing. And I just think that if we can just become conscious consumers, because we as humans we consume. That's just the fact of life. We're going to consume the water, we're going to consume food, we're going to consume resources, and so forth and so on. We just be conscious of where it's coming from. Do I need, you know, can I use this, you know, wear this out, use it up, make do in this, you know, in this throwaway society where everything's 24/7. I think we just have to take a step back and just be aware of where things come from, how our actions have impact. And if we just do small steps, everybody can't do what we're doing, that's for sure. But if we have all small steps, if everyone had a small step, we would have a big impact. So I think it's just that consciousness and awareness of if we ever if we just kind of come to that thing, then if it creates a ripple effect, then hopefully it starts a movement.
So basically, yeah, you're right. You're just being mindful of everyday choices that collectively will have a large impact. I think that's
it is, because
very wise.
Solar panels cost money. Not everybody has that. Things, and we were blessed that the city of Pasadena rebated us the solar panels. So a lot of things that we did, so the city of Pasadena rebated a lot of this stuff and encouraged it. So for us, it wasn't all our expense. So that was very helpful. And if your city, encourage your city officials to do the same. Tell them to look at the city of Pasadena and say, hey, this city is trying to help their citizens, their residents become a greener city. And by example, I think, and showing by example, living by example, doing by example.
Right, absolutely. And just getting involved with community gardens or your CSA, your local,
or your community, put a garden in your school, or go harvest your neighbor's lemons and say, hey, I'll make you marmalade with it. So I just think it's just stepping outside, going outside and reconnecting to home, have meals that were, make a meal at home from scratch, maybe. And share it with your family and friends. Invite people over for potluck on a Friday night and sing, and singing is important. Singing is very important. Singing, I believe, is a part of just expression of singing when there's joy. And I went to I had gone to a Friday night Sabbath service down here, and the rabbi, Susan, she was like, what is your song? What is your song for today? And I was like, yeah, what is our song for today? We don't think about that. We write things, or we tell things, but it's about singing and expressing that. So I think singing and music has a lot to do with farming. I think they go hand in hand. And I do want to bring the music events back to the homestead. Hopefully, we're shooting for spring to have the Hootenannies back.
Hootenannies, I love that.
It is a magical experience. Good food, music, song.
Oh wow!
I think that's a perfect world.
Honestly, I would just come to Pasadena just to come visit you guys.
Well, you should. We have people visiting all the time, so yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah. The Hootenannies, it's fantastic. But I think it's harmony, right? So the music is harmony, your nature is harmony. You bring them together. It's just compounding each other. It is definitely synergistic. But you see little kids that are like a year old, and they already have a rhythm when they hear music.
It did. I mean, and then it goes back to the primal cultures of music and dance expression. I think we just lost that. We've had the barn dances, the harvest festivals, that it wasn't just the food. There was a whole encompassing culture around the food, the harvest. So I think it's a very powerful connection between the two. I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I never really thought about that, but you're absolutely correct. I think definitely fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, there's, like I said, I can keep talking to you forever.
Well, you can have me back. I'm here.
Bless your heart. It took us a while to get this. My life was a little crazy last year, but it was so wonderful speaking to you. And I really, if I go to California fairly regularly, I mean, to come by and see you guys.
Yeah, sure.
I'll call in advance, make sure you're open. But it's pretty incredible what you're doing, and I'll put all the links and everything, and a link to your documentary, which I'm excited to watch. Yeah. And thank you again so much for your time and what you're doing. I think you're gonna have an impact well beyond what you guys ever imagined. I mean, just everyone that comes through there, and your message and hope, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I hope I'm glad you said that. And not only growing community, I think we're growing hope. I think that's what we need is hope for the future, hope for ourselves, hope for and growing hope. So this is our hope and inspiration that we feel that we just want to share. So.
Absolutely. Well, I think you have done a very nice job of it, and I can't wait to see where you guys go in the future. I can't wait to hear about your hootenannies.